Clone Conspiracy is extremely aptly named and takes us back to a familiar location in the Clone Wars. Not just Coruscant, but also Conspiracy Arc of Fires, finding out about the inhibitor chips. This gives the episode a somewhat nostalgic feel, returning to those Clone Wars days, yet still pushing the storytelling of the Bad Batch forward. Last time the Conspiracy was about the true purpose of the clones, and the construction of Kamino, whereas now the Conspiracy is about the true reason for the destruction of Kamino. It's all coming full circle while Admiral Rampart and other imperials play the game to further continue the slide of the Empire into what we know from the original trilogy. Greetings my young Padawans, my name is Jack and welcome to Star Wars Now. Before we jump into the video, use the force and hit that subscribe and like button to never miss a video from myself and the team here at Star Wars Now. As always, if you're talking about Star Wars, we want to hear about it. Getting to see Coruscant again was amazing. The beautiful looks of the planet with the Vendor Star Destroyers in orbit. Obviously we've already gotten a lot of Coruscant previously in the second season of The Bad Batch, but it's mostly been around the Imperial Directorate building. But in this episode, our scope has been quite planet-wide, from the Senate building, which scenes in the actual Senate are always amazing, Clone Bar 79, and even Trace and Rafa's garage from the final season of the Clone Wars. As said, with a title like Clone Conspiracy, this episode very much feels like a battleship conspiracy arc during the Clone Wars. Clones on the run, shooters at 79s, and much more. This is a fascinating way to implement the fall of the clone army, and being replaced by the regular stormtroopers, which really are the face of the Empire from the very beginning in A New Hope. The story could have just easily been Clone Force ages and stormtroopers rise up to replace them, but this is very exciting and a new and interesting way to do it. Having more insurgents and plan to rise up against the galaxy, threatening the safety and security of the galaxy which the Empire was propped up on, is no surprise. It's no surprise that Palpatine is slightly anxious about getting a new army and doesn't want to rely on clones. We know this inevitably works out for the Empire, delaying this dissolution of the galaxy for a decade or so, but you sort of do have to wonder if they made the right call. Would the Empire be much more secure if they just made a new batch of clones? Or perhaps after fighting a war, is conscription a cheaper option for the Empire? Did they jump the gun while destroying Kamino? There's lots of questions. Whatever the case with these what-ifs, it's a nice way that the crux of the conspiracy is centered around the destruction of Kamino, and that it happened in the last season of The Bad Batch. Admiral Rampart has assassins sent to deal with any clones that try to speak the truth, while the Senate is told lies about a storm that destroyed the storm-resistant cities of Kamino. In Legends, Kamino was destroyed after a clone uprising on the planet. I wonder if that might have been a better call for the Empire, not blaming on a storm, but blaming on the Kaminoans themselves, claiming that they were rising up against the Empire, and you can even use the biochips as proof. The Kaminoans were planning to overthrow the Empire with their clones, and Rampart did what was necessary to save the Empire and secure it. Honestly, that could have been better. This might have caused more scrutiny than simply claiming it was a natural disaster, but who knows. It's something to consider at least. Instead of a clone doing investigating like Fives in the biochip conspiracy arc, the investigation rests on the Senate, and not just any senator, but Rio Chuchi of Pantora, friend of Ahsoka Tano and someone we've met before in the very first season of the Clone Wars. Now also a very good character to appear during the Senate is Tyrana Pamelo, the senator from Taurus. Not only is she referenced to a famous planet from Knights of the Old Republic, which would be cool in its own right, but we have seen this character before. She first appeared in Rogue One as one of the cabinet ministers of the Rebel Alliance. So we eventually know this character's path from the early days of the Empire in the Imperial Senate, but right up to the halls of Yavin before the attack on Scarif. It's disconcerting that Admiral Rampart gets a voice within the Imperial Senate. An issue within the Republic Senate was the large corporations got a say within the political body of the Empire, which started the whole issues in the Phantom Menace, and continuing to slide with the allowing of a military voice within the Senate is even worse. Whether this was just Rampart addressing a Senate, which is fine, or the military having a seat on the Senate, is not known. But if it is the latter, this is quite bad and shows a slip of these institutions. Speaking of slip, the clone who tries to get away and not testify before the Senate gets killed, and so does Chuchi's guards. But Rio is saved by Rex, who came to help Slip get off-world, which seems to now be his job. And probably how easy it was for Cody to escape off-world and go AWOL. However, if it was the case, I am somewhat disappointed. I'm still hoping Cody pops up later and is doing a double game. Not being able to see the first time that Cody and Rex reunite, hopefully Cody is still on Coruscant perhaps and hasn't contacted Rex yet, because I do want to see that and I want to see more of Cody's story. We've been teased, we need more. Anyway, we get a return of Trace and Rafa's garage in this episode, as said previously, which I was not expecting as they were mentioned as being away, so I do wonder what these two are up to. Anyway, the assassin sent to murder Rampart's deserters and also Churchy turns out to be a clone, but not a regular clone trooper. Now I do wonder if this clone trooper was created by Nala Se, and we saw that she was shipped off to Imperial facility at the end of last seasons of the Bad Batch, this being Mount Tanzis. Maybe this is the first version of a Dark Trooper project. What that means for the story, who knows, but he kind of offs himself with a suicide tooth button as a standard for this type of story. Now luckily for us, we got a second episode, and considering how tied these two episodes are, I'm very glad we got both this week. Having done a week for this conclusion would hurt quite a bit. With a dead clone assassin and Slip's last words being about extracting data from Rampart's ship, Rex calls the best clones for the job, the Bad Batch. They are brought in to enter Rampart's ship, which is currently undergoing a refit on Coruscant, and recover the data on the attack on Kamino, bringing it to the Senate before voting on the conscription bill. Also rather convenient is parked there, just saying. Not only that, but we get the return of another Clone Wars senator, and that is Halle Bertoni, the former senator from Kamino. From her, we found out that Rampart had been siphoning funds marked for Kaminoa to other projects without Senate approval. Obviously we know these probably went towards projects like Project Warmantle and the TK Stormtroopers, which have already seen action in the Outer Rim. After getting the ship's data about the attack on Kamino and getting it to the Senate, we find out that Organa, Chuchi, Rex and the rest of those standing against the Empire have been playing checkers, and seemingly winning. However, the Emperor has been playing chess all along.
Stay back. I was following orders. Order. We shall have order.
It seems it was part of his plan all along to discredit Admiral Rampart and put the blame entirely on him for the destruction of Kamino, which in a way made the bill of conscription more likely to pass, and pass it did as the clones were said to blindly follow Rampart's orders. As the clones were said to blindly follow Rampart's orders, therefore declared as a rogue element within the Empire, only doing things for his own personal gain. Therefore Rampart was declared as a rogue element within the Empire, only doing things for his own personal gain. Just how amazing is it to see Palpatine in this show? As the Empire rises, he too quite literally rises from the ashes of Kamino, projected into the Senate floor. We see Palpatine in his area of expertise, not fighting with Sith magic, but manipulation. He manipulated everything in the prequels and the Clone Wars, and we continue to see him in his prime in the Bad Batch. Something which happens at the end of this episode though, is that we lose Echo, and I'm okay with this. Echo is very much in a nebulous state within the show anyway, and I don't think the writers really knew what to do with him. A lot of the uniqueness within the squad is done by tech anyway. This was the issue I had with the first season. Everyone had a role, and Echo's was only really to do data port and slot into them, something which tech can do without needing a fancy robot arm. Having Echo leave now, especially when the future of clones is even more in peril, and joining with Rex is the best outcome for the character. Whether he will come back in the later season of Rex, who knows, but I'm glad they've found a place for Echo. Now these episodes of the Bad Batch are what I like to see. There is a place for adventures in the Bad Batch, but this season almost feels like two different shows that are tangentially related to each other. In a great way, they do combine in the end, which works to this advantage, and helps to lessen the whiplash effects felt at least to me, especially in previous episodes of getting our Coruscant stuff and political intrigue, and then back to fun adventures with the Bad Batch and some random robot guy. Overall though, I very much enjoyed the conspiracy. As said, multiple times this episode feels like one of my favourite arcs from the Clone Wars, the biochip conspiracy, and where that explained how Order 66 would come about. This conspiracy helps explain how the Empire gets its Stormtrooper army after the Clone Troopers. And in both of these conspiracies, we have the masterful manipulator that is Palpatine, working from the shadows and just appearing at the right time to have his desired effect. Getting Ian McDiarmid back as the Emperor is always great, and he really stole the limelight of this episode in delivering his lines oh so well. Palpatine is here, Organa, Senator from Taras, Clone Wars characters. It feels like an excellent continuation of the Star Wars universe, and doing what a great prequel should do, help to expand which comes after chronologically. How to get to the Stormtroopers can be done in multiple ways, as we've seen in Star Wars Legends, but I very much like that the Empire is somewhat weak after fighting a war and changing to its dictatorship. These are the consequences of that, and Imperials are moving as best they can to secure their grip on the power. And as said, with the planning of Palpatine, that grip is secure for now. What did you think of these two episodes? Let us know in the comment section below. Okay, Exiled Ones, that's for myself here on Star Wars Now. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button to keep up to date with the latest Star Wars news, lore, and more. You can also follow us on social media as well, but make sure to let us know what you think in the video comment section below. Because if you're talking Star Wars, we want to hear about it. Okay, that's it for myself. I've been Captain Jack today on Star Wars Now, and we'll see you very soon. Goodbye.